You know, they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but can the Sages overcome their toughest opponent yet? Sages and the Valkyries coming up next.
That's right, it's the Sages taking on the Valkyries. Everything on the line here now, Trelly, right? Winner gets to go to Roll Stars, losers, just, I guess, at home for a long time, has to wait before they get to be seen. Score, it's Trelly, and of course it is, I guess, I was going to say quote-unquote, but it's not even like the finals. It just is the finals for this one. Europe last week had a team that ran through everybody. North America, it's been a little topsy-turvy, Wild West out there, as you can imagine. Every matchup got harder. Wardens looked like they were going to be on a little bit of a run. Then they met the Valkyries. And the Valkyries, so far, 2-0 them, 2-0 the Weavers, and want to keep that streak up, and 2-0 the Sages. For them to get a win, of course, the Weavers are the ones who want to put a stop to that as soon as they possibly can coming up. And this one should be pretty interesting. The Valkyries, we had kind of talked about this, I believe, going into Masters. Very interesting regular season, which maybe... Yeah, well, because it's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't reflect maybe who you are as a team. I think you had said that perfect practice makes perfect,
right? Not
just practice makes perfect. And that in your belief that at the time, the Valkyries weren't doing the perfect practice, they were just playing the game.
In my mind, looking at rosters at the beginning of this season, it seemed to me like the Valks were the uncontested best team in this league. And then they sort of, I want to say, coasted their way through the start of the season, just because it seemed like they were going to make it to a situation where they could qualify to land regardless, and they were playing, half-heartedly. But the gameplay we've been seeing from them recently, that's what I've come to expect from the Valkyries.
Just solid performances, top to bottom. Again, a lot of names that you should recognize. And of course, if you want to look at the rosters, we're talking about Wowy, Gamma, Crimson, Sam, and Aqua here on the Valkyries, and they're going to be taking out the Weavers, what we just saw, playing the Sages, Renjaru, Privative, Nayhoo, Jangaru, and Snaddy. Of course, a lot of players who have been around for a while, and, if I remember correctly, the first seed after the last phase and going in towards Masters. So a team that has been here for as competitive and disrupting the Valkyries, at least in the regular season. And now the question is whether or not they can do it when time comes down to it. Because as mentioned, the Valkyries climbed up to the top. Winner of this gets to go to Roll Stars, have a little bit of fun. I believe, J-Mac's been mentioning a little bit of cash maybe sprinkled in for them. It's a lot of fun, I think, that they can have from top to bottom. For me, I'm just excited to watch the end of another Gauntlet, because it's always fantastic to see what these teams are going to kind of culminate. As you've been watching over the weekend, or at least as I feel, we always get really competitive matches, because you get a team, either at the very beginning you get two that are right next to each other, and then you get a warmed-up team versus teams that are just better, and it feels like it continues to climb. But Trelly, we had talked about it, we mentioned them, the Valkyries, a team that we've been watching yesterday, today, and a team that has been doing very well. Now, could they maybe have ended some of these games quicker? Probably, but also, are they getting way more kills than their opponents and still winning, haven't dropped a single game, and look really good doing it? Also, yes.
And I think those are good problems to have. Not winning quick enough isn't always the worst situation. Of course, you could have lost, right? So that's not the biggest concern. It's just when you're facing these higher-seeded teams, when you're facing teams that know how to defend, they know how to capitalize on your mistakes, that's where things get a bit dodgy. And, of course, the Valkyries are facing their strongest opponents yet in the Sages, which I think is a team that is very complete. We've gotten to watch them for quite some time, and it's going to be scary if they're going in sort of wishy-washy. But because of the style of this tournament, because of the way that the Gauntlet is, the Valhalla Valkyries shouldn't be coming in cold at all, right? They've had a good few matches of SMITE underneath their belts, whereas it's the Sages that have to come in maybe a little bit cold, not warmed up, so to speak. So I want to see, same thing that I always say around these sort of tournaments, come out swinging, right? You are the team that has been playing consistently. You are the team that, just got done beating the Weavers 2-0. You should have that momentum under your belt, and you should be able to come out for early blood. Solo lane has been a lot of where Sam for Soccer likes to play with Aquarius. Try and get in there early, pre-level 5, before those solo laners have access to ultimates, things like that. So that's the kind of gameplay I'm expecting here from the Valkyries.
And that's where things get, at least in my mind, become a very interesting conversation. Because if you look to the other side, you look, let's say, at the Sages, a team that has to take them on, I don't think there's a single matchup where they can relax. I mean, the way that we've watched Wowy play, Crimson play, Sam play, Aqua play, and I'm going to give Gamma specific shout-outs because the body blocks that I saw in Game 1 were just disgusting what he was doing to people. The level that the Valkyries have come in so far, the last 2 sets we've watched them in, Charlie, you cannot lapse. And so you've got a team that has been first seed, a team that has been doing well, and a team, again, that has been competitive for a long time. A lot of names that work well together and have shown dominance and at least wins over this Valkyries squad in the past. The question for them now, can you do it, as you said, maybe coming in cold, as well as knowing that the Valkyries are taking things about as seriously as they can, right? We haven't seen Sam going for weird mages in the jungle, things that aren't off meta. And when I say off meta, I don't mean, oh, he went for like the 5th meta pick. I mean like he went to a different tab and just chose a god style of play, knowing that, you know, Sam's playing his best gods, Aqua's playing the best gods, yep. Crimson, Gamma, Wowy, all of them are showing up, all of them are playing. This is where the Sages, I think, are going to get put to the test.
Yeah, they certainly will. And I think you're right to highlight it. The Valks seem to be firing on all cylinders, as you would have expected. And the Sages, they usually are already playing up to that standard, so it should be an exciting matchup. Can't wait for it.
And you know what? We don't have to wait for it. We've
Great
got
news.
picks and bans, at least for Game 1, already ready. Sages, Valkyries, both teams blue, but the Sages will be left side. And that means they'll be first pick, Chelly. So we'll see what we'll get out of this. Now, man, yesterday, I think I got a little too comfortable at one point because we had watched so many Wardens games in a row that I was able to say, well, they're going to first pick Wukong for whatever reason. And so far, we've still seen some Wukong. I think Aqua played it in Game 1 last set. But I don't know that it's going to be as highly prioritized. Gods that will be up on that list, you have to imagine Crimson gods, maybe some Sam gods in there. Honestly, Wowy's been looking really good, but if you ban a Hachi, he's just going to look really good on something else. And so, first pick, kind of up in the air. Bans right now, Yanis, Thor, Terra. Other side, Baba Yaga, Marty, Ganesh. Most of those have kind of become the standard. The Yanis, the standard versus the Valkyries, and specifically versus Crimson. Although he's been a little hot streak overall this weekend.
I think so, but the way I see it, Wukong is the new Hachi, right? He almost never gets banned, but it seems like everyone wants to try and pick him first. Unfortunately, the Sages are still thinking Hachi's the new Hachi. But the Valkyries, they know. See, they know the tech. They know that Wukong's the new Hachi. They're going to grab it on top of the Kuzenbo. Either way, immense safety, still has good dive, and I think that's just the reason that he's so highly prioritized. He does great damage and hard to gank early, which is where a lot of these junglers tend to get active. I have been giving nothing but praise to Gamma on this Kuzenbo.
Yeah.
It's an annoying god to play as is against these sort of carries like the Hachiman, the Tiamat, for example. And Gamma on him seems even scarier. So I love the top 2 here from the Valks.
It was yesterday, right, that he decided to get first blood super early. Unfortunately for Tuba, that one's ingrained in my memory right now. It was really well played, and that's kind of, again, where I'm at with this Kuzenbo, which is normally, you know, kind of shaking it up. You know, I see Kuzenbo, I think Neil Ma, because I feel like he played it a lot, whether or not it was meta. I think Raffer was in that list for a while as well, but Gamma's been making it look really good. And so that's something that the dual lane as a whole for the Sages is going to have to worry about. They retaliate Tiamat, Baron, Samedi. That gets locked in. Not often we get to see a Baron as of late, although he's still been sprinkled in there. Speaking of which, get your Baron's brew while you still can. Advance.gg. Other side, Merlin locked in, and then the bans start to roll through. Raven, Daji banned out by the Valkyries. Other side, Rat, and Kali. So jungle's limited, and that doesn't deter the Valkyries whatsoever. They're going to go ahead and just pick up the Ishtar. One thing I'm noticing, while Thanatos gets taken away, which I would have put on the list of, hey, here's a god for Sam to go to, Hunbat's also still available, and something that we know Sam likes to go to.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Sages treated that pick as a pseudo-ban. Sure, something they like to go to and something that can bring good pressure, especially if you're looking to execute some of these tankier targets like the Wukong, like the Kuzenbo. But hey, if Sam for Soccer was looking for it, now he can. Looks like he wasn't looking for it, though.
Wow.
I assume that means Wukong will be going into the jungle because I can't imagine a world where Yorm is jungling. But hey, there's a reason Wukong's been picked so much. Let's see how he works in the jungle. That's my asterisk at the end.
You know, and there used to be a world, and a lot of people might remember it because it was the one time that Wukong was like the strongest.
Right.
And it's Bluestone was really broken. Wukong himself was kind of broken. Like, he had the knock-up and everything. He doesn't have a lot of those things anymore, but we'll see where he ends up going, what he ends up doing. So jump into Game 1 of the finals here for the NA Gauntlet, the Summer Solstice. As, of course, the winner here tries to move forward to the Roll Stars land. You'll be joining myself, Trelly, sticking with us. And joining us, of course, is going to be Doug for the game. And it is Sam on the Wukong in the jungle. Part of me was really kind of hoping we'd load in and it would be, for some reason, Yorm. And not because I want to see Yorm jungle, but because I felt like it'd be kind of funny if I led into this saying Sam's been playing the meta gods and then he just didn't. Which I guess this still counts. But Wukong, there have been times, Trelly, where he can still work in the jungle. He just doesn't have the same disruption that you would get out of, you know, like a Hunbat, that you might get out of like a Thanatos.
Yeah, he has good safety. His gank isn't fantastic, especially if you miss that Tiger stun. You do lose a bit of the value in you know, a CC style of jungler. But if you look at the composition the Valkyries have, they already have a lot of that CC, a lot of that disruption, and a lot of that dive with the, you know, Aqua on the Jormungandr, and of course Gamma piloting that Kuzenbo. So Sam just wants to do some decent damage and stay safe. I could see it working. My issue becomes that Jangaru's got a lot of great tanky targets to try and execute the later this game goes. I mean, Thanatos is traditionally seen as one of those early game snowballers, but late game full build, I mean, that threshold starts to get bigger and bigger, right? That HP starts to climb up. So I think that Thanatos will be just fine if this game does decide to go late. Jangaru already hovering on the left side of the map looking for the shield buff or for a possible gank.
Well, there's a slow. A cudgel from Wukong, showcasing some of his damage. There's Jangaru getting aggressive onto Gamma, and Gamma doesn't have a very safe path. Ow, the dash is good. The blink, couple autos disconnect, and then the Nene Kappa. No way do you get out of this. The kill still happens, but you bring Jangaru pretty deep, and now Sam's rotated in. Blink for himself, stun immediately into the slow. Goes for the cudgel soon, you have to imagine. Some extra damage.
Wow.
But it's not enough to get the kill. Sam unable to turn it around, and it's first blood for the Sages.
I mean, shouts out to Privative making sure to hit that heal for the jungler, and Jangaru even had the sight. The double heal was enough to guarantee that Sam did not have the DPS to find a kill there, but sticking around is going to go for another gank. Renjaru's got the beats. You got to pick your target wisely.
Sam puts out the slow. There's the Nene Kappa. It looks like Privative's going to be the one who is chosen here as the sacrifice, but walks a little further away.
No.
There's the damage. Yeah, the heal might have been able to help a little bit. Jangaru was over here again, but did not quite show up in time to save the support. So 1 for 1, support for support. First blood still going over to the jungler for the Sages, which to me, Charlie, it's small, but it's still a win.
It's definitely a good look. I mean, if I'm playing Thanatos, I would love to get a first blood, so even if you are dropping your support for the trade, I do think it's going to end up working out. But Sam for Soccer seems to be going into that transcendence. He wants to get it online as soon as possible, so picking up a kill for himself is also going to be a good look. But left side of the map seems to be where the action's happening, Gore. That duo lane, there's a lot of farm to be had. Shield buff is something that these junglers have been fighting over consistently. Wouldn't be surprised if that sort of continued as this game goes on. The solo laners are just going to be left alone on islands. I understand. You know, ganking Yorm after level 5 doesn't seem very fun, and Tier is in that same boat. The amount of mobility and also just sustain can be annoying to deal with, and you just want to stay over on the left side of the map where you've got immobile gods like Baron, for example, that aren't going to be able to run away or deal with your CC. The horrific emblem pops was trying to find Wowy's beads once they came back up, but Wowy dashes away. Ishtar is going to be safe for now.
Sometimes it's just that easy. Cool, calm, collected. Look, Wowy doesn't have the KDA that he does this weekend if he's not able to hold it together. And that's something that has been very consistent. We were talking about it going into this. The amount of kills to, I guess, just his KDA in general over this event. Maybe some of the best performances we've gotten out of Wowy, period. And in general, the entire team has been looking pretty solid. So now, right now, it's about where the pressure goes. I see Thanatos, and if it was Sam playing it, I'm talking to you about how we're going to be playing a little bit on and off throughout the entire game, right? You're going to see him go for ganks, but you wouldn't be surprised if he waited until 15 minutes, not playing maybe necessarily the early game Thanatos, but playing for something maybe a little more late game oriented. Instead, looking for the Sages. I mean, this feels like a gank waiting to happen, or farm just not happening. One has to start up soon. Shield buff. It's going to be the option since Wowy and Gamma are stuck under the tower. Nobody's available in mid. And it's the awkward half of being a jungler when there's just no opportune gank to go for.
Because of that, gotta just continue farming, right? That's always the play. If you can't find those kills, just look elsewhere, see if you can invade some buff camps, but not a great respawn timer for now, so just back to the old farm game. I do want to see, because, you know, Sam for Soccer went for Transcendence. He's stacking up. He doesn't need to fight necessarily, but Jangaru gets First Blood, has the Jotun's Wrath, has a Blink online. I would love to see even more active, just to try and force some relics out, or just to poke out some of these targets. A nice Blink Scythe onto ErupTCrimson could start some fights, but fighting in the mid lane is never a jungler's favorite situation, right? It's so much shorter. It's very easy to go underneath the tower, and as a level 6 Thanatos, you are not trying to take more than one tower shot to confirm a kill. So I understand staying away from the Merlin. And because the duo lane's been playing relatively safe, it just seems like these junglers don't have anywhere to get active just yet. I mean, I already highlighted it, but these solo laners, this is not a dream gank situation, especially when both ultimates are available and they've got teleport. It just seems like, you know, no one's going to stick around at 1 HP if they can back and get back to lane so quickly.
Not a lot of options for these junglers with the way things are going out. I mean, like you said, maybe a Blink onto Crimson. But Crimson, for the most part, has been pretty safe in lane. Wowy, I think, is recognizing that without Gamma, it's a little awkward in the duo. And like you said, Sam's going to be playing the long role. Aqua, though, I have to give him a shout out where it's necessary, because while we had mentioned, and admittedly, I still do not expect a lot of intrigue to be happening in solo lane with two obscenely tanky targets, he's kind of been bullying Snaddy on the Yorm. So Aqua, I think earlier I saw people in chat talking about like the way he builds, the way he plays this. And it just feels like his Yorm, especially considering it got all the way to 10th pick after being a pretty high priority, has been really solid. Crimson in a little bit of trouble. Stunned out now by Jangaru. Crimson manages to disengage. And Sam going for the Somersault Cloud, looking for the chase. Nene Kappa comes out for a slow. But it is going to be a kill for Renjaru on the left-hand side, chasing down what was a low Crimson left in the jungle. Now, it's just cleanup crew for the Valkyries. They come in, kill off the Hunter. Now they have to disengage. Rotation from Snaddy. It's going to go massive here. Fearless knock-up, good onto Gamma. Damage is there, and Nayhoo picks up a second for his team.
No blink?
No blink.
Wow, Jangaru had it, just decided not to go for it. And honestly, like I said, more than one tower shot, that's when things get a bit risky this early on. But love that play. I was just talking about how Jangaru had the ability to get some poke onto ErupTCrimson if you catch him out in the jungle. In mid lane, it's rough. If you catch him out in the jungle, he's got no tower to hide under. Beautiful damage, beautiful chase down. Just could not quite get him into that threshold. The level 7 Thanatos just did not have the damage for it. But of course, Renjaru comes in with the mounted archery, gets some good damage, is able to finish that kill, and then ends up trading out, giving a second kill over to Sam for Soccer. It's sometimes these trades you got to take. I do think that the Sages are a little bit down in gold because of that lead you were talking about from Aquarius, but it's a nightmare matchup. I mean, Yorm, he can't be knocked up, he can't be pushed away. All of Tyr's abilities are essentially useless. You're just trying to continue clearing the wave and stay away from this Yorm because he's got the Tainted Breastplate as well, or the Tainted Steel rather. That anti-heal means that you can't trade with him. You're going to stay back underneath your tower, clear the wave, and run. And I think that's the best way to play that lane matchup.
And so far, it's been working out pretty well, like you said. Nothing too intense. I mean, right, the most thing that we've really gotten out of it was a teleport from Tyr that made a big rotation onto left. Didn't see Aqua, and so maybe that's a big difference maker for him. Granted, Sage is now 3-2 for the kills. Nothing too crazy as far as the Valkyries are concerned. In fact, Aqua still has the level lead in the lane and managed to secure the cooldown buff there. And so it's just making Snaddy's life unhappy. Thanatos, I mean, I was with you, wanting to see maybe more blinks, more something. Maybe this is where it's going to be. Sam, not quite finished stacking. But his presence apparently is enough to make Jangaru a little more nervous. Gold Fear started up by the Sages. Not only is it early, starting around 10 minutes, they've got 3 over here. Go for the life of the party from Privative to pull in Gamma. Gamma dodges that one out. In fact, they kill off the jungler. Crimson in mid is able to pick that up. Now Sam's rotating in. The Fury has been dropped, and Priv is on the chopping block. Gamma takes him out, and now the Valkyries isolating and chasing down the mid laner. Nayhoo nowhere to go. 3 people surrounding. And at this point, it is a matter of turn and burn. The burn's a little long, but it gets the job done. 2 kills picked up. 3 kills if you count the extended fight for the Valkyries. Now maybe a Fury of their own. Rotation from Aquarius makes this one pretty heavy-handed. Needs something massive to make it worthwhile. Snaddy steps up. Try and contest. Takes half his health bar. Renjaru stuck in a very similar position. Valkyries get the gold. Fury up in the air, though. Execute good, and the Thanatos comes crashing down looking for a double, but the knockup is a little bit better from Aqua. Locks him down and gets the kill. Now they just have to disengage. You lose Gamma, but a worthwhile trade and then some for the Valkyries.
Yep, that Fury started up by the Sages seemed a bit risky. I mean, using life of the party is a great call to try and push Gamma away, but he's got so much mobility and he's got that ultimate that can just make your life miserable. He was able to push everyone out of the pit. All the while, you get so much damage on a Jangaru. He gets picked on the rotation over from Sam from Soccer and ErupTCrimson. And it's a beautiful play. They just know exactly what to do. Aquarius teleports in, says, hey, I'm pretty ahead. This Jorm is going to be a threat if he shows up for this fight. And he does just that. Snaddy couldn't get involved. He tried to step forward for the contention of the Fury. Just did not have enough damage or enough tank stats to try and get it active. It was all about the execute there from Jangaru, and that was the only play that the Sages really had to pick up some gold after the structure already went down. They did what they could, unfortunately. It was a consolation prize at best, and if Jangaru was able to find one more auto attack onto Crimson or the Scythe connection, maybe he pulls 2 there.
Beacon spawns in. Valkyries on top of it, and there's not much of a contest. And you know what, Charlie? I really can't blame them, right? You're in that fight. Jungler dies, Nayhoo dies, Privative dies, Fury dies, then Jungler dies part 2. I don't think I'm taking a fight around that beacon after something that dominating. In fact, Renjaru right now trying to box out Wowy. Actually successful in that regard. Has a small level lead, despite Wowy being 005. And is able to push a little bit of pressure over there. But now we've got Transcendence stacked and finished for Sam, as well as a whole other item and the start of a third. So a little ahead of Jangaru. But I don't know. It's it's mainly when I look at him, I go, okay, does he have Blink? If Blink, then yes, that's going to be Blink, Tiger Stun. That's the damage. That's the gank. And if not, he's probably just chilling.
Does seem to be the case. And that's the beauty of the Wukong jungle. You're not going to do as much damage as some of these other full damage assassins late game. But early on, you can Blink, Tiger Stun in. You still have your Somersault Cloud. You're not going to get bursted through, especially with a second item Archdruid's Fury. You've got the extra tank stat. You can get as involved as you want. Yeah, Blink in on the Thanatos. Why not? Can Jangaru get up in the air? Now if a Cudgel comes through, doesn't even need it. Plenty of damage thanks to Crimson and Sam. Throw a 4th kill into Sam's column. Why not?
Never, never will I stand against a fed Sam for Soccer. It's your Season 7 Worlds MVP right there. I lied to you. Season 6, isn't it?
Would you stand up to him if he was behind, though?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Right? Like, if he's falling behind, well, I mean, at that point, you got, like, a lead, you got an advantage. Or you like me specifically. I wouldn't.
No, I'm saying
he'd
you.
trash me mechanically
That's what I'm saying.
Every day of the week. I could be up. You could put me in a lobby, 10,000 gold up on Sam, and I'm still going to somehow lose that fight.
Nice. I was just wondering because you were like, man, I wouldn't stand up to him if he was ahead. I'm like, but would you stand up to him at all? I mean, that's Sam for Soccer
That's
right
a
there.
world's MVP.
Yeah, he's one of the GOATs for sure. And in this case, I think playing a fantastic game here on the Wukong. And this is what we're talking about. We've always known that the ability to hard carry a game has been in Sam for Soccer's genes. The question has been, does the meta suit him, and is he up for the task? And I think both of those things are in his favor right now. The slightly tanky junglers, he seems to be playing quite well. Of course, he's got the proponent to just go Kali and hard carry a game. We saw that last set. Those are still abilities to go for. But I talk about this a lot. It was the same, I believe, yesterday when Wowy had like 8 kills and no one else on the Valks did. You put 4 kills on a Sanford Soccer. That's a hefty bounty. If Jangaru is able to find and execute, I mean, there's no Aegis on this Wukong just yet. If you're able to find some good damage from Nayhoo, the Tiamat does have a level lead. Maybe you get aggressive there. It just depends on who gets the shutdown gold, and more specifically, if Sam ever puts himself in a position where he can die. I haven't seen him somersault cloud defensively yet. It's always been the chase down kills. It has never been because he's so scared he's going to die.
Yeah, when you get to use what it has very cool, like at least in solo lane, kind of come with the territory of, oh, that's your, I'm going to go sit in this until my cooldown for bird form is up. I'll heal up a little bit and then just get out. When that ability is getting used to chase people, and I think that's more of a showcase than anything you need. 15, let's call it 16 minutes. 3,000 gold here for the Valkyries. Primal Fury spawned in on left. Pyromancer on the board as well towards right.
Did you see my boy Farrell won some gems?
I did not see. And you know what?
You were too focused on the gameplay.
I was too focused, and specifically I was looking at the exclusively the very top of the screen.
Well, shouts out to Farrell. All you got to do is play some games. You got a chance to win. He took your 10,000 gems this time, but hey, in another 30 minutes or so, maybe that's you.
It's, yeah, every 30 minutes, it is 21 days, so I believe it was the 18th is when it stops of August. And it's 10,080,000 total gems. That's a lot of gems.
That's a lot of
damage.
That's
a lot of damage. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. A lot thrown towards Nayhoo. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge threat. Throw us up on the second monitor, though. Get in the game. Show up. You play something. As long as it's not a private game or a custom game, you would be entered for the 130 as long as you played within the last hour of when the drawing happened. Speaking of playing within the last hour, Snaddy might have to back up here because these guys have been playing and they are well oiled at this point. Snaddy looks like he's going to make it out of this one. Aqua tried to go for the chase, but the tier 2 tower creates a safe haven for the tier. Primal Fury is the target for the Valkyries. Want a little more on the board than just a knockout to make sure that they can get it. They're going to start it up. The DPS isn't that high. Crimson hasn't started any burn on it. Fury itself, about halfway through, dropped. Maybe just traded by the Valkyries. It's getting low now. It's about to be a 50-50. Jangaru goes in. Valkyries secure it. But not without a little bit of risk injected into the fight. Beacon is going to be opening relatively soon. The Valkyries look like they might be backing off. Could be an opportunity for the Sages to try and find some control on the board.
I love the call, though. I mean, that was discipline. The Valhalla Valkyries recognized they had some healthier health bars. Maybe they could go in and chase down a kill after the Fury, immediately back up. Gamma even uses the blink. I would argue didn't need to, but wanted to make sure the play was known. We are getting out. I'm not trying to bait anyone around. We are leaving this game. And you can tell. They want to grab the beacon. They want to play as safe as possible and continue this onslaught of farm. I mean, it's not just kills, right? It's not just the Valhalla Valkyries are winning the team fights. They've been farming the map better. Off the back of, I'm going to say, ErupTCrimson, who's been doing a fantastic job just clearing waves and continuing to stack up that tablet. But Aqua, who is just putting on a show. Look at the damage difference between this Jorm and everyone else in the game. I mean, a good portion of that is on the Snaddy, right? Lane-wise, it's very annoying. You're just going to get breathed on every time you step up.
But he's also got 13,000 damage over Snaddy in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that is also just in the back line. Very annoying to try and deal with. As you can see, when Aqua shows up, most of the Sages start running.
As they should.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine? What would you do?
If the world serpent came up and started breathing on me?
Yeah, well, I don't think I could run fast enough to escape him, but I'd try. I mean, man, would I try.
If he had to, like, actually hit me with his ult in real time, I feel like I could juke it, you know? He only gets 3 shots.
He only gets 3 shots.
But wait, are we, in this case...
You just have to follow the non-movie rule of running away, which is you just got to run perpendicular from it. Just like Renjaru might need to run perpendicular or maybe get some help. Jangaru comes in, silence is there, but the knock-up from Sam, the cudgel, and the shots from Wowy turn that one around. You save your carry, but it costs you your life.
I mean, Wowy almost gets the 1v1 there with Renjaru, but of course, Jangaru comes in and says, I got you, bro. I'll make sure you don't get soloed. I'm going to guarantee we return this kill. And then Sam says, Uno reverse one more time. I was hiding in the purple buff. Blinks in with the knock-up to save his own ADC and just help confirm the kill. Wowy gets to kill that one. Put his first kill on the board. Beautiful play there from Sam for Soccer. Not only is he going to play aggressively like this and force out double relics from Nayhoo, he's also going to play support style and help out his team.
Now, we see the life of the party. Stuns out Gamma. That felt more defensive than offensive. Not a lot of damage opportunities. 4, and with a rotation soon from Aqua, 5 members of the Valkyries around the Pyromancer. Setup's going to be there. Priv goes for a steal over the wall. Unable to do it now, might be out of position. It's going to be small damage until Merlin gets involved. Crimson with the burn, the fire stance. Gets rid of Privative. Gives a number advantage over to the Valkyries. Split push right now for Renjaru. But it's not going to be too heavy. Instead, tier 1 tower in mid being pushed by the Valkyries. And they're going to try to match that split push energy. Aqua goes to defend the base. The rest of the Valkyries push the tier 2 down in mid. Sam, he was hunting. He wanted a little more food. Unfortunately, Nayhoo still had the lead. So Sam wasn't going to eat, at least this time. Betrelli, they thwart the push on their tier 2. They knock down a tier 2 of their own. And they're in a good position for, say, an Oni Fury that's going to be spawning in just a few seconds. Something the Valkyries could probably pick up pretty easily this late in the game.
They would definitely like to. I'm thinking pretty soon the Valkyries should be thinking about that Fire Giant. Unfortunately, Wowy doesn't have any crit online just yet, which means it will be done relatively slow. Same for Soccer's not an auto-attack jungler, so that still means your burn is not the greatest. And you got Merlin, but more often than not, you want to save some of your cooldowns just in case the fight breaks out, right? You don't want to spam your whole kit on the Fire Giant and then get dove in the backline wishing you had some CDs. So probably a smart call to just wait until Wowy upgrades that Ornate Arrow or builds the Demon Blade or the Deathbringer last item to help some of that DPS. The Oni Fury, that's a different story. Grouping on the left side of the map is most of the Valkyries. Aqua is still over and right for now, and actually Snaddy blinks in, trying to pull the beads off of Crimson, who just flickers it and holds on to both.
But you got to admire, at least in my mind, the response time on that juke, that ability to just get out of there. Pretty big deal, especially using the blink off of the tier for it. On top of that, when you have Snaddy rotating over, Aqua is still 20 seconds without the teleport. So we're 23 minutes into the game, 9-4 in favor of the Valkyries, 5 towers to 2 in favor of the Valkyries. And a Stygian Beacon that's going to be spawning in just a second, which you'll never guess what, but those have been, so far, in favor of the Valkyries. Oni Fury as an option. Pyromancer won't be back for a little bit, so unless you're going for a Fire Giant, not a lot else to fight over on the right-hand side of the map. A little bit of pressure that was exuded by Aquarius in a push, and that's forced Jangaru and Snaddy over to the right-hand side of the map. Could be, and should be, a pretty open and easy Fury. Started up by the Valkyries here. Wowy. Shotgun blasts to get some damage out there, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be a soul on the Sages willing to step up. So Oni Fury goes the way of the Chaos team. Beacon going to spawn in just a few seconds, and Trelli, the Sages recognize a bad fight here means a Fire Giant gone, means a map that can be destroyed. This is how the Valkyries have been winning the last 4 games they've played. And they're going to keep that kind of pressure applied to the first seed in North America.
They certainly are. And I think Wowy did upgrade to the Ornate Arrow. As long as he's got some golden pocket, he does have some crit chance. So after this Beacon, I guess you have your choice. Do you want to wait and push with your Titan, try it knocking down a Phoenix or some of these tier 2s, or do you let the Titans push and go in for the Fire Giant? Unfortunately, since the Titans are on the right side of the map, it will be very close to FG. The Sages still certainly could go in for some defense. But either way, they're pushing up. The Valhalla Valkyries are in the jungle deep of the Athenian Sages. Maybe just grouping up for the tier 2. They've got the Oni minions. Why not? Why not knock down the tier 2 before the Titans even unleash? Seems free enough, and the Sages tend to agree. They head back to base and say, "Now that one's yours. You guys can go. Maybe we'll defend Fire Giant, but that tier 2, that one's for you."
There was a moment there, and you could see a little bit of the decision-making. Looking towards the FG pit, but walking to the Pyromancer, the Valkyries, maybe a little tempted to test the waters. But like you said earlier, you're going up against better and better teams that have better and better defenses. You've been able to knock down the towers so far uncontested. 2 exposed Phoenixes on the Sages side of the map. But you need a little bit more than that to win the game. Titan now not only unleashed, but walking towards the Valkyries, getting burned down. Aqua zoning. Sam with the blink ready. I think he might be going towards the side. Drops the cudgel, puts himself in combat, and instead the team turns away from the fight and towards the Titan itself. Take down the objective, create a free and open right lane for them. And Trelly, if there's anything I've learned about the Valkyries, if they have the opportunity, they're going to take the fight over the fire every single time.
And I'm going to go ahead and say it's the wrong decision. I mean, Jangaru's in left, your Titan is pushing right. I've never seen a more free Fire Giant, but they're going to run it down with the Titan. They want to go in for the Phoenix. And this is a totally acceptable play if they're able to go in. But look at this. The Sages are popping everything. Aqua's over and left. They want to get aggressive. They don't find much, and still, the Valkyries have the ability to teleport in. If Aqua wants to head over here, he could, but he doesn't. He teleported over to left, actually. He doesn't have the ability. He's got to stay gone. The Titan's just going to die, and the Valks missed their opportunity. That was the freest Fire Giant I've ever seen, Gore. Maybe you have to deal with Snaddy going up and ulting, but if you can't out-secure a tier, I mean, you're not getting Fire Giant anyways.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to call it a prolonged moment of the game. If you want to sponsor the prolonged moment of the game, there you go. I don't know what it is, but definitely a moment that and this is what I had alluded to earlier, right, where it's sometimes that would put them in a position to end the game a little quicker. Right now, you know, you give maybe more opportunities to the Sages than necessary. We'll see what the Sages can do with it, or if the Valkyries are truly giving anything up. 9,000 gold in the lead. Oh, I'm sorry, just 8,800. Not quite 9,000. They got to put some work in to match that. Pretty soon, though, it's going to be a little over, right? Tier 2 tower, oh my god, in a blink of an eye. Gone in an instant. And they should start approaching the conversation for 10,000 gold with another objective. Primal Fury about to spawn in. They're getting the shield buff. And at least this one we know can go uncontested. And should go uncontested if the Sages want a chance at fighting around the Fire Giant.
I suppose so. We have went through a full rotation of the Fury before the 10,000 gold lead the Valks have used has been looked at for a Fire Giant. Which, again, I'd like to go on record to say that Fire Giant would have been free. But it seems to me the Valks have one thing in mind, the Enhanced Fire Giant. They don't think that the regular FG is going to be enough to break the base, so they are deciding to prolong the game. In my mind, Sanford Soccer's pick is only getting worse. The Wukong is in a fantastic position now where no one's at full build yet. Sam has a lot of kills. He's relatively safe. Fighting him in the jungle is strong because he's got Protector. But full build, the Wukong will fall off. And I think Jangaru's got the Magi's now. He spent so much time split pushing on the left side of the map, ignoring his team, saying, hey, I'm going to go get full build. I'll be in left lane. Hopefully they just, get one Phoenix or one Fire Giant. They did none of those things. So now they're able to step forward, the Sages that is, into the jungle, still down a ton of gold. But their builds are looking a little bit stronger than what if they would have went for a fight a bit earlier.
Could change things up late game. 29 minutes, which means we are a minute away from an Enhanced Fire Giant. And I do, that line of thinking where you said, like an EFG, that's not going to help us break a Phoenix. Unless you're getting some massive picks around the EFG, that honestly, over the last few weeks, kind of proven to be true. And so, maybe waiting for it to be enhanced. The call. All 6 towers for the Sages are gone. Valkyries still have 2 in mid, and then they're tier 2 and left, tier 2 and right as a defense. But right now it's in the jungle and grouped up for the Fire Giant pit wards deep. and a pick on the mind of the Valkyries. Gamma put into combat, looking for a blink push. You have to imagine Sam maybe looking for a blink stun. But Trelly, this is the moment. I mean, you had said it. For right now, Sam's pretty strong in the jungle. Might actually be looking for Snaddy. Finds the stun. A little bit of damage out there. Gamma goes for the push. They find that as well. Watery Grave spins around for a little bit. Privative looks for a pull, but now is isolated, left behind by his team. And the autos are there from Wowy. Takes down the support, and the Valkyries surge forward. Only for a moment now. Fall back. Talking free FG. Now it's enhanced. Might as well go for this one. And that's going to be where the start is. Gamma's going to hit a reset, but the rest of the team knows the objective. Snaddy teleports in onto a ward. There's no vision from the Valkyries. He sees the Fire Giant is half, and he's going to go in to disrupt it. Looks immediately towards Wowy. Now that he's been spotted out, it's too early to steal a Fire Giant, too late to get any such kills.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Instead, it's going to be Crimson bullying him. Long snipes Wowy just off the mark, but there's the cudgel. And Jingu Bang knocks Snaddy into the ground. He prolonged it, but he did not stop what is going to be what feels like an inevitable Fire Giant for the Valkyries.
Crimson plays zone duty, takes a little bit of a 1v1 versus Renjaru. No one is nearby for the enhanced Fire Giants. The Valhalla Valkyries should be able to grab that for absolute free. 31 minutes into the game. All three birds are still standing, but the Valks have their pick. Where do they want to go? Snaddy's down for 30 seconds, so pushing up now, definitely the correct call. Mid or right lane, why not both at the same time? That seems to be the play here. Try and spread the Athenian Sages thin, and make sure they're not grouping up as four. They'll be a little bit weaker. Right bird should go down for free.
Have to give some shout-outs. Renjaru right now takes Crimson to half HP. Does not seem to be doing too much. Privative getting burned. Wowy looking for the DPS there. Instead, turns their attention towards the Phoenix. Takes it out, even if it means letting the support live. Snaddy's going to be respawning here in a second, but mid-Phoenix in trouble and gone. Damage good, great stun from the tier, and execute range there for a few. Sam goes up into the somersault cloud, actually avoids it, heals up, forces Jangaru to fall back, goes for a speed buff instead on the Thanatos. 2-4 and 0, very effective early on, but fighting into a 5-0-5 Wukong. Valkyries find success, take down two birds, fall back into the jungle.
Yep, grab one more Oni Fury, group up, finish up some of these builds, finish up some of these upgrades, and then head down left lane and look for the end. That's probably the call here for the Valhalla Valkyries. They've had this massive lead for some time now. I'm thinking this could have been a 28-minute game if they were able to make use of that first Fire Giant they could have went for, but they decided against it. They wanted to cross their T's and dot their I's, go where Roll Stars is on the horizon, and you don't want to make any misplays. The Valkyries are about as strong as they have ever been right now. And unfortunately for the Sages, they could use a little bit of extra gold. They could use an extra item for Renjaru once they get that Deathbringer or that Demon Blade. They could use the finished item there for Nayhoo, who hasn't even finished stacking up the Tablet of Destinies. And of course, Snaddy would love some extra magic defense, because every time he gets near ErupTCrimson, he melts instantly. But
Oh my
Sam
god!
Soccer just deletes Renjaru through a bead, still had Aegis off the face of the earth. And now he's going to try and chase down Jangaru on the right side of the map. Why not when you're doing that kind of damage?
Exactly. Why not, right? There's literally no reason not to. Good damage from Sam. Fire, Oni, minions in mid. Fire, Oni, minions in right. They're going to start pouring into the base. Crimson loops around, has a speed buff around his belt along with the Fire Giant. DPS onto the Titan's going to start up. Privative might be the initial target. Gets some picks. Watery Grave separates the team, tries to isolate him, locks him down, forces him back into the fountain. But the damage, it's slow rolling from the Valkyries, but it is still there. They find a kill onto Privative, and they find the kill onto the Titan. 34-17, they take game one.
They do take game one, and it was very favorable. I was questioning how this Wukong was going to work. Is it going to be full tank? Is it going to be supporting? No, I mean, just 2 tank items, really. And then Sam Soccer said, I'm doing damage. I want to solo some of these carries. I was also a bit questionable about late game, right? I was like, if this keeps going, how's this Wukong going to perform? Luckily, they never caught up. Luckily, we didn't have to see
Nope.
what the Sages could have done if they were able to get to Sam's level. They were never able to. The gold lead was just massive there for the Valkyries.
I thought for sure, towards the end, you had pointed it out, like the Magi's bubble, you send Jangaru over to the side, and suddenly you're farming up. You get full build. This is going to be the turn. And then they just ignored him. They just said, all right, fine, we can't stun you. Oh, no, we'll go stun somebody else then. And that's what they did. They just decided to change target, and they win that game, continue winning the fights, and close out at least game number 1. There's still a chance for the Sages to try and fight back, topple the Valkyries in one game, try to earn their ticket to Roll Stars. We'll see if they can do it right after this.
There's something about your face, can't stop looking your way. What do you do to me? You make it hard to breathe. Ooh. I'm tired of the people that talk about nothing, and I'm not wasting this moment. Even though I know that letting you go would be crazy. Thinking, no, I want you for myself. I don't need anybody else. I got the music playing.
I am the ruler of all. This pleases me.
That's right, the God's Slayer flavor available at Advanced GG. And of course, if you're looking at what Sam just did, you can look no further than to why. It's because, hey, he's focused, he's doing it in a healthy, natural way. And of course, how is he doing that? He's doing that with good flavors from Advanced GG. And of course, we've got quite a few with them. And if you want one that it literally did clear up quickly, I don't think we've had a single flavor in this building that hasn't been cleared up quickly. You can get the Godslayer Energy and Ice Shaker combo. That is available now. If you go to advanced.gg/Godslayer, you can find that. And of course, you can look towards some of the others. The Godslayer, again, I always have to talk about it because the flavor itself is really good, but these shakers are just such good quality that it kind of blows me away. And so you want to make sure that you get your hands on one while you can, and of course get those flavors and use them, level up your game. Things like that to level them up, Trelly. Maybe say like the Valkyries who have leveled up. 5 games played, 5 wins in the win column for them. 1 away from going straight to the Roll Stars. So all they have to do is a very, very simple task, right? Just beat the first seed a second time in a row. It's something that they did, though, in this game pretty commandingly. I mean, we had kind of talked about it. There were definitely moments early on where it's back and forth, but that only lasted until maybe 10, 15 minutes in. Suddenly, the back and forth part just became a fourth for the Valkyries.
Yep, it seemed like even when the kills were relatively even, I think that it seemed Aqua in particular was just carrying farm-wise, right? The farm was always going to
damage.
be... Yeah, the damage in the farm was always keeping the Valks relatively even, or just a bit ahead, I believe, through the entirety of the early game, despite the fact that Jangaru struck early over in that duo lane. But you can tell, yeah, see 3-2 for the Sages, but the Valks are up in gold at this point because of that solo lane. Then Aqua starts rotating in, Sam starts confirming a lot of these kills, and their team comp sort of showed us exactly what they wanted to do. Triple dive, Sam vs. Soccer, lead forward, go into that somersault cloud if things get sticky. They rarely did, and then finish off some of these kills. And then what I thought was going to be a tanky initiator turned into be a massive damage dealer, and Sam vs. Soccer was finding 1v1 solo kills against full damage carries. So the Wukong jungle definitely impressed me, making support plays like that, going in to save Wowy, and still finding plenty of damage as the game continues. The Valkyries have shown not only are they a threat when Sam's on these hard carries, things like the Kali, things like the Hunbats or the Thanatos, he can also play the top meta solo laners and do things like this. This was just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I think it was, I mean, beautiful? Is
He
that
still
what
has
I want to use?
He still has his ult.
Still has ult, didn't have to worry about it. And in fact, I think I only saw, counting them, 1 total Sun Wukong defense ult, and it's because he got within execute threshold and had to use it to get out of there as fast as possible. They still won that fight, though, and so it is just impressive from them. Look, 606, 208, 105. You only got 1 death on Crimson. The rest were all put on Gamma. About as perfect a game for the Valkyries as you could ask for. in a competitive setting. And they closed it out in 34 minutes. Not a lot to get the ball rolling on the other side. Damage numbers a little lower, some of them matching up with the Valkyries. But an opportunity coming up soon for the Sages to try and balance things out. And that brings me to a question to you, Trelly. That was a 10th pick Yorm. And it was 10th pick after the Wukong, and I think the Wukong lulled the Sages maybe into a false sense of security.
Yep.
What do you do when a team's willing to do something like that?
Well, if I'm the Sages, I'm trying to grab one at the very least, right? Get the Wukong or the Yorm from themselves. Then after that, you ban the one you're not looking towards, or you force the Valks into banning them because they don't want to give them up at this point. Both are decent opportunities. We're not even sure if the Valks are going to ban those things away. Maybe the Valks aren't worried about it, but trying to take them away from Aqua and Sam for Soccer, definitely a smart look to try and mess up the momentum of this set so far.
Well, they haven't looked worried about anything in the 5 games they've played. We'll see if Game 6 changes that for the Valkyries. It's Game 2 of this set. 6 in a row for them. After 5 wins, Sages will remain the first pick team. So the Valkyries could just go straight back to the same composition. We'll see what kind of bans there are. Yanis starts things off, which is unsurprising. Met immediately by that Baba Yaga, which, again, maybe not that surprising. Thor is joining it. So far, Chelly, we're just lining them up 4 for 4. The Hachi this time gets banned out. Sages opted into that first pick in the last game, knowing that if they didn't take it, Wowy was going to take it. So now they'd ban that away. They leave a little things open. Ganesh gets banned out, so 5 out of 6 bans stay the same. And instead of the Hachi first pick with that now banned, the Sages go for the Terra.
That's interesting, because the Valks have the ability to just lock the Wukong once again, and they want to give Gauntlet his Kuzenbo, which I mean, again, wasn't this massive damage dealer, but was super annoying, as you could tell. Constant disruption, constant relic pulls. It's just, the Valks are jumping for joy, I imagine. I could hear their comms, they'd be like, yeah, we're okay with that. Well, we are totally fine with giving up Terra so we can get the Kuzenbo and the Wukong. The question is, I was going to say, does it go to Aqua, or does Sam take it again? I would be surprised if Sam took it again. I do think Aqua takes it, and he'll grab a hard carry jungle this time around, but not for a lack of options. They both have different gods they could go to here.
And that was the glory of it, right, is the fact that it's so flexible of a pick that now that we know Sam not only can play it, but can play it really damn well, you're having a conversation of, well, you know what, depending on what they lock in, you save whatever it is for your last pick. You pick up, let's say, well, I guess you've already got your support. You pick up a hunter in the next roll. And then suddenly you can say, all right, well, there's the full 5. Do we want Wukong jungle against that? Do we want something else for Sam? And it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Maybe something to change up. Chernobog was the change up here for the Sages, locked in alongside that Jormungandr in their top 3. Other side, it was the Merlin to fill out their top 3. Bans were once again Raven, Daji, other side. This time was Kali Hunbat's very much more targeted towards Sam. Ishtar is the option for Wowy one more time. Now with Set locked in, and the Serqet locked in, presumably Set mid, which is something that we saw, I believe, done against the Valkyries last set, that they were still able to handle.
Yep, and it's going to be the Nayhoo, so that's what I thought. Aqua takes the Wukong, Sam takes the Nayhoo into the jungle, plays more of a supporty style jungle pick, but still does have that same level of damage. The set is something that I've always been afraid of, right? The set mid can hard carry a game away if given the opportunity. If you're just giving it a little bit of space, give a little bit of farm, you can really run away with the game depending on how much space you're giving in the back of a team fight. And with a Serqet and a Yorm taking up some of that dive potential, heck, even the Chernobog can go up to the sky and dive with you. That's exactly what the Sages ordered. So I do like this type of team comp here. We'll see if that's enough to knock the Valks off their rhythm.
Well, they've got to do it, and they've got to do it here, and they've got to do it now, or else they are eliminated after only one set. And the Valkyries will go to Roll Stars. It's the opportunity for the Sages to tie things up, push us to 3. Just like the rest of the weekend and last week, you'll be sticking with me and Trelly, and of course joining us in the game will be Doug. As we tackle what could be the last of the NA Gauntlet, and according to you in chat, will be the last of the NA Gauntlet, 73-27. But Trelly, all I can think is that yesterday we had a 90-10 split, and I don't think anything at any point is ever going to eclipse that one, maybe until we get towards the end of the year. And even then, that is such a stat to try and overcome. But the Valkyries in favor both times. And so I'll ask the question that's on my mind. Last time Crimson got off to a really good start, Sam got off to a really good start. When is it that Nayhoo becomes the biggest threat?
Well, not right now. I mean, Set does need, I would say, the ultimate before you're a true threat. You can rotate around the map very quickly. You can dive as effectively as you would want. And you have to worry about CC if you're a Set, which is, you know, he doesn't have any CC immunity, so has to use the beads whenever possible. If you look at both of these assassins, right, you expect a Nayhoo and a Serqet both want to go blink, but they can't because of the opposition, right? That 1v1 would just be too scary. So I'm thinking, despite the fact that Jangaru was able to find a first blood last game, Nayhoo goes forward, does find the first blood to ErupTCrimson. I was going to say maybe we see a bit slow pace, but no. And Merlin does not have the ability to step up that far. Even through the beads, just gets ran down. Also, yeah. I lied. Level 3. That's when Set can get active. Easy damage.
Turns out, and there it is. That's all we needed to see. Almost got a kill onto Sam as well. We saw quite a few times this weekend. Double assassin, triple assassin sometimes. Can just run it down and control this game. Serqet as well. I think you have to give a lot of credit. First off, it was impressive that Nayhoo did it without help. But you add the taunt from a Serqet, and suddenly it's a different conversation. Privative, beautiful walls make it so that Gamma's disruptive push doesn't get as disruptive as maybe it could have. Otherwise would have been a kill. Because of the beautiful walls, gets to just sit right outside the tower, stay alive, heal things up. Gamma, also no blink this time, goes for it. Privative not against the wall, but has the double dash. Is able to disengage over on the left. Now Set right now, Charlie, if I'm going to turn my eyes towards the items, not only aggressive and trying to look for a green buff, it was a little late for him to go for it. Looks like he's going to be starting into a Transcendence. And that feels like, even though, you know, he can fight, you had mentioned at level 3, he's got some damage there. Is that going to stall the game out for the Set and maybe give the Valkyries an opening to work with?
I mean, you have an opportunity to. I think that San Francisco knows the beads are down, and Nayhoo doesn't want to fall behind ever, right? If you have that ability to get taken up with Windfire Wheels, it sort of does stunt some of that aggression. But Set's positioning is always something you want to take into consideration. How far he can teleport with that sand clone is just ridiculous. With the movement speed from Kingslayer, he can essentially go across the map at any second. So keeping track of Nayhoo is going to be a big deal here for the Valks. They need to know where he is at any given moment. But I'm looking at the front line of the Valkyries thinking, man, if Crimson's not by himself, it is difficult to just free cast onto a Merlin, right? Like, that has been the call. Of course, Nayhoo just walks up and kills him for first blood, but if Sam's there, if Gamma's there, if Aqua's there, think about all the CC that you have to overcome as a Set to hit your auto attacks, hit your skewers, that sort of thing. So I think Nayhoo is playing the matchup perfectly now. Get as much damage and as much farm as you can when there isn't tanks looking at you, and then wait for your moment to strike later on.
I have to give a very special appreciation towards Gamma, who has just been playing obnoxiously.
Oh, yeah.
Stole the purple buff a little bit ago, and then there was a point nobody was over here with him, but he was still looking for pulls and pushes against the wall, because why not? And that is all that he has been up to. The Kuzenbo, it's been a treat to watch. Started with the shell early on. Sam now looking for a stun. There goes the ring toss, but immediately Snaddy goes into the World Serpent and is getting a little aggressive. Jangaru shows up, ults onto Sam. The damage, not enough to get a kill over in right. So the World Serpent stays safe, so does the Lotus Prince. The Valkyries get to back away from a gank, maybe with an opening, knowing that ult's going to be down for a while.
And yeah, I think Sam was forced into it. I mean, you pull the beats early against the ultimate, and then you gotta watch out for the taunt after. Sam gets taunted back in, definitely falls down there. So smart to use that Windfire Wheels defensively, but now you have a target on your back. If Jangaru is able to find that 1v1 again, might not go the same way, even with Windfire Wheels available. Jangaru still does have the beads and that CC immunity to try and outplay it. So definitely a slower paced early game here for the Valks. And Gamma uses the watery grave just to walk up and try and invade the purple buff. Is not able to. Luckily, Renjaru pulls it back, but Nayhoo just destroys Soccer with some help from Jangaru. One taunt is all it takes. Doesn't have the Windfire Wheels, doesn't have the beads. That's a second kill going the way of the set.
And sometimes it's as simple as it was the first time I mean, there's not much to read into, Trelly. He just kills him and does it in spite of the beads. Does not seem to worry too much about any of the pressure of the retaliation. Crimson, at this point, maybe needs to be able to get active with the team to get some damage out there. Maybe help balance things out for him. But otherwise, what we are looking at is a 2-0 lead, 6 minutes in. About 600 gold, so that first blood bounty still sitting in their favor for the Sages. Experience, only barely, slightly in their favor. 37 stacks on that Transcendence in mid. You got to be happy knowing that it's pretty close to being done. Snaddy has ult again over in right, so there's not really opportunities for Sam to maybe go for another gank. Charlie, we might be pumping the brakes for a little bit if we're the Valkyries, just trying our best to farm up and get back some control of the game.
Definitely a smart call. I think that pumping the brakes in this situation when Jangaru and Nayhoo just have so much control, it's going to be a good look. Snaddy's getting weak, but does have it the World Serpent, so just will use that ultimate to get away from Aqua here. And it's a difficult matchup because you know Soccer wants to come over. Every time this Yorm gets weak, wants to come over and say, hey, I've got ult, but you can't get any value from Windfire Wheels except for the initial hit damage. You're not going to be able to take them up to the sky, and you always got to watch out for that World Serpent to just stall until Jangaru shows up. I think the best play here for the Valks is to play off duo lane. I mean, Gamma's level 8. They've been fighting tons of pressure. Aqua's going to be just fine. Like, leave him alone on an island. He's got that Somersault Cloud. He's got plenty of safety. The pressure needs to be on the left side of the map here because that's really where it is. But Nayhoo does use that Kingslayer to rotate over. He's looking for Gamma. One stun should confirm it.
Yeah, that's looking like an easy pickup. Great stun from Wowy. Flashy. Doesn't really mean anything. Gamma goes down. And there's not much else to say about it. Jangaru steals away a blue buff on right. And if you were looking for the Sages to turn things around, they have done exactly that. A great start to this game so far. Though experience still causing them a little bit of trouble. You can mainly see that in the duo lane. Speaking of duo lane, Privative, who is falling behind, double dash, no way, is able to walk away from Sam. But Sam gets a better kill, finds Nayhoo, and takes down the mid laner, a much needed, I'm going to call it the shutdown, on a set that has otherwise been running pretty rampant, pretty freely. Finally found by the Valkyries.
I mean, I thought losing that kill on a Priv would have been disastrous, but picking one up on an Nayhoo, that's huge. I'll take that every day of the week, right? If you're Soccer, you needed a comeback kill like that. And looking for it onto the Terra with no beads, it's level 6. Seemed like not the worst choice, but just I'll take what I can get situation, and then you just gift wrap the set. That's a great opportunity. Aqua, once again, wants the 1v1. At least forces the ultimate out of Snaddy. So, less safety there for the Jormungandr. Maybe Sam's got an opportunity to look over towards solo lane now. But either way, Naja's on the board, and so are the Valks. And even considering 3 kills, the gold lead is still in their favor.
Yeah, Valkyries turned that around. Admittedly, they were only in the hole a couple hundred. That has been the danger. Trelly, you know, I'm going to call this 6 games in a row, even though it's really only been 5 and TBD for this one.
Are we like 5.5?
The farm game of the Valkyries has been impossible to match for these other teams. It feels like so often we could be 0-0 10 minutes in and the Valkyries are 1,000 gold. They've just been farming a little bit better, and that's where that SBL experience really comes in, right? That's the thing when we've talked to pros in the past. That's the major difference they always say. They say team fight-wise, you'll look at the SCC teams and they'll be able to match up, but when you look towards their farm game, that's where the SBL players just have it. Right now, Snaddy is doing his best to try and disengage, but a couple of autos, a clone, and a Sam, that's enough to help Aqua get Valkyries a second kill and do it under the tier 1 tower over in left. some aggression to be found. Sorry, on right, where they found the kill. Maybe some aggression in left to be found, but nothing too crazy going on. Tier 1 tower, first one of the game, 1044. And now is what I will call a slow start of dominance that we have seen from the Valkyries. And Trelly, with a brief reprieve, I'm going to ask you a question that has been on my mind for what feels like 3 weeks, but maybe I'll have to hold that thought. Aqua, isolated, caught out, stealing. Nayhoo puts a third on the board and helps turn things back around for the Sages.
Certainly does. And I was going to say, the start of the comeback, as you mentioned, the Valkyries really did need to start stringing together those kills. The first pull of the ultimate onto Snaddy from Aquarius ended up being worthwhile. I think it was very thin margins that World Serpent was not up when that gank came through. It was something like 3 seconds. If they didn't get that kill immediately, that ultimate would have become available. But staying for the Bastion, staying for the tower, and then for the blue buff invade ends up biting them. Nayhoo comes through. This set is still very lethal, especially when you don't have your escape. Aqua ends up using the Tiger Stun to try and peel for Sam. Sam just windfire wheels out. And then Nayhoo says, all right, I can chase you down. Like, you already used your ultimate and your 72 transformations. There's no way Set doesn't have the damage to try and clean that up. But the beacon has spawned in here, and Privative is already trying to capture it with Sam vs. Soccer. But the numbers is in favor of the Valks, which means they'll be able to get much more score, and they will stand by here. This might be something the Sages have to give up.
Nayhoo stepped up and is in the neighborhood, but like you said, there's not much you can do, especially Aqua. And soon could have been Wowy rotating in if necessary. But it's easy. Valkyries walk in, outnumber, outpressure, and outconfirm the Stygian beacon. And now they use that leverage. Aqua's over here, might as well use it. And they go for the Gold Fury early on. Privative, Nayhoo getting aggressive. Sam with the sash and the ring toss. Causes a little bit of trouble. Snaddy comes into the back, looks for it, and the Sages are able to take it, and a World Serpent away makes sure that they keep this game right where they want it. Take it away from the Valkyries and make them feel a fool.
Wow. I mean, thin margins there for Snaddy to come through, hit the massive knockup, and confirm that objective. I mean, I saw Renjaru post up, and Aqua gets him to very low HP. I thought that was a won fight the Valkyries could have taken. But they were more interested in, I mean, call it a 50-50. It seemed to me that they thought that there was no one there. You got to hear the Jorm stealth. You know he's around, but you don't know exactly where Snaddy was. They thought they had the burst damage, and unfortunately for the Valks, they just could not confirm it before the Jorm got involved. Beautiful play by Snaddy there. Shows exactly why you got to keep your ward vision and your confirm towards these objectives on point. Because that should have very much been a lead for the Valhalla Valkyries. Instead, the Sages pull ahead.
Gives us... Look, man, it's a balanced game at this point, right? 500 gold, 14 minutes in. That's a little lead, but it's not too much to worry about here if you're the Valkyries. 4-2 are the kills, still in favor of the Sages. The only tower that's gone down so far is that tier 1 in right. Pyromancer. Looked at and officially started by the Valkyries. They're going to drop it immediately, not feeling too confident. Privative, Nayhoo, and then Jangaru, all in the neighborhood. Chaos in the left jungle has now put the Valkyries back in the same spot they were before they started finding some of those turnarounds. A couple of kills maybe, so what they need to get back into this game. But Trelly, no one's going for the Pyromancer. It's a small pause, maybe a look for some of these junglers to find a gank, set themselves up for success.
Yeah, probably a smart look. I mean, right, the Valks, they aggressively pulled an objective. Look where it got them. Stolen objective. So the Sages, despite being up a bit, don't really feel like they want to go in for a pull onto the Pyromancer just yet. Maybe off of a rotation in from duo or from solo. We haven't even considered that Renjaru can show up at any moment, right? That ultimate, that never-ending nightmare, could show up unannounced to the middle of the map towards Pyromancer, towards solo lane, if need be. Renjaru's been focusing more on farm recently, but still does have that ability to use that global ultimate to get on this side of the map. So probably a reason the Valks aren't aggressively playing anywhere on the right if they don't have an ability to. I mean, if Snaddy's ultimate gets forced, yeah, maybe you're looking for a gank again, but as you get more damage online and more tank stats, I should say, it becomes more difficult to force the World Serpent as a Soul Wukong, right? You can't just use your kit and Yorm's half HP anymore. It doesn't work. So you gotta look for other ways to get active. And it was the Pyromancer. Snaddy made the rotation over, but Aqua shows up and immediately shuts that one down. Pyromancer will not be pulled today. Not this second, at least.
Not this second.
Maybe like later today.
I was also caught thinking Oxform versus a Yorm is just useless.
Yeah.
It means pretty much nothing. You use it for the knockup, and that's why we see the Tiger Stun come through. Valkyries get enough of a zone after setting up a small defense to push and successfully secure the Pyromancer. Now over on left, you see Chernobog playing aggressively and successfully knocking down a tier 1. Now joining the fight that is happening just around the mid camps. Up in the air goes Nayhoo. Crashing back down alongside Nayhoo is Sam for Soccer. Needs a little help from his team, and the help is there. What a great push by Gamma. Nayhoo's low, and Wowy finds the shot that's needed. Puts him in the ground and continues the chase. The double kill picked up for the carries of the Valkyries, and the chase that is on for the Valkyries. It is going clean so far. Wowy has gone big. Triple so far. Does not look like 4 or 5 will be in his name, but it does not matter. They get the fight, they get the fury, and they get control of this game right back in their side.
Snaddy's alive, but not nearby to try and steal away this one. The Oni Fury will go the way of the Valhalla Valkyries. What a beautifully played fight there from the tanks. I mean, Aqua gets to the backline to confirm some low health targets that might have made it out. Wowy goes massive for the triple kill, but I gotta look at the disruption from Gamma. Once again, it just... You can see that Nayhoo feels like he can go in, has the Kingslayer, has these set clones, and then Kuzenbo happens, and you just get pushed into a wall, you get bounced around with the ultimate. It is just so difficult as an assassin with one set of CC immunity to dive carries with a turtle around. And I don't see anyone doing it better than Gamma right now with this Kuzenbo.
Nope.
It's a pick that you might have wanted to take away, but it's too late now. And now the Valkyries have a commanding lead. Not too massive, but big enough to say they've got the minions pushing forward, the Oni minions that is, and they've got a relic graveyard on the left side of your map. Sam for Soccer's got his pick of who he wants to try and take up. Jangaru, Nayhoo, heck, even Priv could be someone that gets taken by this Windfire Wheels. And I'm thinking ErupTCrimson, the level 18 Merlin, might have the follow-up damage, especially if he's able to go back, spend up some of that gold, and then follow up to that Windfire Wheels.
Yeah, a minute to work with on those beads cooldown timers. And very conveniently, Trelly, a minute that they're on cooldown when the beacon spawns in. And that's going to be a sash immediately onto Privative. And the zone. That is all the Valkyries needed to pick up the second beacon of the game. Go ahead and scoop up the Oracles as well for some extra farm. No need for kills because they are already leading in those. 6-4. And, I mean, blink and you miss it. 3,000 gold right back in their favor, man. It is ridiculous how well this team can farm. Last time, the Sages were able to balance things out. Just have to look for their opening. Wukong, no ults over on right, means that maybe they've got some windows to go for. Gamma being Gamma forces beads on Renjaru.
And here's Sam.
And here comes Sam with the sash and up into the air. No, the ult from Renjaru. Tries to balance it. Watery Grave with the knockups. Slow from the universal ring toss, but not enough to dive a tier 2. Snaddy coming around the back. Finds Crimson alone. But it's a sash, again, from Sam. Ring toss for some damage, for some slows, for some control. Valkyries cancel the push in mid, instead run into the jungle. It's looking like not only a gank potentially on duo, but a tier 2 tower over in left. Wowy, Sam leading the fray. The rest of the team not even needed. No kills necessary. They get the tier 2, they get the gold, they get out.
They do. Diminishing returns comes in clutch there. Sam for Soccer sees the beats down from Renjaru off of, again, Gamma doesn't have blink, right? He had to loop around the green buff behind Renjaru, had no idea. Gets pushed, pulls the beads, dashes away, and then Sam does the same play and loops around. But between the sash and the Windfire Wheels, there shouldn't be enough time to get that ultimate off. The DR just comes into Renjaru's favor and is able to dash out. Losing both relics and the ultimate, of course, but still. Not quite as much as the Valks would have liked. They take a tier 2 tower, which is still fine. They're going to continue. I thought maybe Sam was going to hide over in left lane, but Renjaru's not going to push up, so no more ganks to be had. But remember, Gore, last game, around this time, the Valks had an even bigger lead, and they were still hesitant to go for Fire Giant, right? They wanted to wait for the Titans, and then they wanted to wait for an Oni Fury, and then they wanted to wait for Enhanced Fire Giant. I'm not saying the Valks have the ability to go for Fire Giant for free now, but waiting for the Titans still should be their first play. Decide if they can go in for a tier 2, decide if they can push towards the Phoenix if they find a pick. But Wowy got his build online a lot faster. I remember around this time again, I was saying maybe they don't want to go for FG because Wowy doesn't have Ornate Arrow. He's got it now. That triple kill helped out a ton, right? He's able to build, get some extra crits, look towards the Deathbringer or the Demon Blade after this, and your burn for FG is going to be so much greater. I think the potential for steal is also pretty nasty as Priv takes that stun perfectly for Nayhoo. And you got to watch out for Nayhoo when you're around a Fire Giant. Those set clones can just fly in from anywhere, and that's a great steal opportunity. That's probably why the Valks are heading back over the left side of the map. Look for this Gold Fury. Look for pushing up some Titans. And then we'll talk about Fire Giant later.
Now, Vision's there for the Sages, halfway down already, and then some on the Fury. Valkyries just get to walk up and take it. Snaddy getting pressured by Sam, sashed out. Aqua kind of zoning as well. Nobody looking for a kill on the Valkyries. And so, it has been very, very calm and oriented from the Valkyries. They know where they're going to, and they know where they're going to find their advantage. They force the World Serpent, but before Snaddy can make it in, good damage and a kill on to the Jormungandr for the Valkyries. 7-4 in pressure in the mid lane. Tier 2 is where their eyes turn. Charlie, this will be now 2 exposed Phoenixes on the Sage's side, and the Valkyrie is going to stick around. Only 1 kill, but they see 2 over and right. They're going to lose a tier 2, put pressure now on the Phoenix. Sash, and up into the sky. Sam with Privative comes crashing down, looking for some backup.
No follow-up.
Does not have the damage. Instead, they're all looking at Nayhoo, and they find that kill much more worthwhile than just the Terra. In fact, let's go ahead and notch another Renjaru, so close to dead, forced to fall back. The Phoenix goes down, sans Fire Giant, and the Valkyries with a brilliant amount of control in mid.
Jangaru, though, wants to try and find some lazy backers. Who's going to give it up? Doesn't seem like anyone wants to fall for it. So the Valhalla Valkyries will get out with that free Phoenix off of a split push play. I mean, Renjaru and Jangaru going for the tier 2 over on right. Not thinking it ends up being worth it, though. You could have kept that mid bird alive if everyone's there to defend. A little late to the party, and now the Valks have essentially freedom on the map. We talked about Titans. They still could be waiting for that, yes. But after the Titans push, Fire Giant should be enough to take down 1 more of these birds, considering the lead that the Valks have. And now Nayhoo's got no relics for another 80 seconds. Renjaru just used both relics for another 2 minutes. Same for Soccer, still does have his pick of the litter. Who does he want to take up with Windfire Wheels? You know they've got those timers on down. They can just go for whoever they want if they step forward.
Will we see 24 minutes, a Fire Giant started by the Valkyries? Said it before, but out of the 3 games we've watched, they'll choose fight over fire every time. Right now, they're turning their eyes towards the beacon. It's going to spawn in relatively soon. That'll spawn in, and maybe more appropriately, unbind the Titans. Allow them to run. At this point, it's maybe a little bit of a toss-up. Every lane has the same amount of structures in it, and each structure seemingly has the same amount of health. Left looks a little lower. Oh, wait, I'm not counting the Phoenix. I completely forgot that was already gone. Instead, I imagine this is going to be an easy capture and probably a right lane for the Titans. You know, Chelly, sometimes 24 minutes in, you just forget that the mid-Phoenix fell down that early. That has been a defense so far for the Valkyries, or sorry, for the Sages, the Valkyries. Still aggressive in the jungle, and Snaddy might just get caught out. All they need is a little CC, maybe some turn and burn, and they've got the burn available in a Merlin. Jangaru goes in, needs a little help from the team. Taunt is good onto Crimson. There's not a lot of backup. Privative push to the wall. The damage. Not really there yet. Nayhoo, though, gets turned on and cannot do anything. Privative now feeling the brunt of the damage, and it's 2 kills in the blink of an eye for the Valkyries. And now waiting for Renjaru to come crashing down into the wall. It only helps so much. Another kill on the board. Sam for Soccer is on a killing spree. And they're going to go ahead, knock down the tier 2, presumably knock down this Titan and put some pressure on right.
Yep, if the Titan is not pushing right now, they may be going in for the end call, but it does stall them just a bit. The right side bird, they've got some time to go for this. Nayhoo's gone for 18 and Priv for 14. They're positioning like they want to go in for the end gore. Snaddy and Jangaru, they've got a lot of work to do.
10 seconds to work with before you've got Priv, before you've got Nayhoo. But the Valkyries, they're walking in. Jangaru tries to get aggressive. Same for Snaddy, but the damage is just too much from the Valkyries, forcing the Jormungandr to play awkwardly. Has to fall back, but he gets a kill, and a much-needed one at that. A shutdown onto Wowy. Sam's low, and it's another one, ending the killing spree. And now the Sages can burst forward with energy they have not had for 10 minutes. The damage is there. Snaddy is low, has to play carefully, but has backup. They're looking for him. They're finding him, knocking him down like dominoes. 4 are gone for the Valkyries. It is just Aqua and a Titan left on the right-hand side. And that's too much pressure for the Sages to handle. The Valkyries don't win yet. The Sages keep their heart beating.
Aqua stepping forward, though. The Titan is here. How much can he get done by himself is the question. I've seen this Titan. It does a lot of damage, Gore. And if it's able to get into the Titan room, Aqua wants to try and go for the end call by himself. But the ultimate is in the anti-heal. Aqua does have to leave. It's not going to be that simple.
Yeah, he does back off. The Titan gets a good amount of damage done, though. Unfortunately, not tanky enough. Now Aqua alone might get staggered out. His team is spawning in, but he's going to get killed off a minute without the solo laner. And now, Charlie, we're having a different conversation. It was 2 Phoenixes down. Still a weakened Titan, has to be mentioned. But now, only right side Phoenix is gone. Fire Giant untaken. There's a Pyromancer. There's a Fury. And there's the Sages. Still down in gold, but should be feeling confident after that fight.
They definitely should. Enhanced Fire Giant is still not even in the question. Right? It is 27 minutes and 52 seconds. Snaddy's underground, trying to look for some peel. There's only 1 Phoenix down, and the Titan is in critical HP if you are the Sages. You want to push up, you want to take the fight to the Valks, but you want to make sure you got your ward coverage, just in case someone tries to sneak in and backdoor. Sam for Soccer is in position. Like he's on the right side of the map. He's getting a cooldown buff currently, but at any moment could make a break for it. And that's something the Sages have to consider. That's why they're stepping forward towards the Pyromancer. They know Aquarius cannot join the fight just yet. He's on his way out of base, which means the Sages are going to make a run for it. But Fire Giant is certainly on the table here for the Valks. Do the Sages even feel confident they can step up with their Titan this week is the question. It's only Priv out of base in the jungle now, acting as a moving ward.
Now, Charlie, this is a very, very specific instance where they need to be on top of these fire minions. Very easy because it's right lane, right? But there's a deep ward in the base right now, and it was just walked over by Renjaru. Something that could be very easily, if there's some fire minions in there, teleported to. And since we haven't seen Aqua put that on cooldown, well, could have been dangerous. Now it disappears. So unfortunately, that dream, maybe of a backdoor, has disappeared for them. Also, speaking of, while we have the brief moment before the next fight, another 10,000 gem winner out there. If you're not playing, you're not entered to win. You got to get in some games, queue up some Smite. Can even be PvE against the bots. Just cannot be a custom game or a private lobby. And you will be automatically entered to win for the 10,000 gems giveaway that are going on 3 weeks. And a lot of gems to have, a lot of damage to be dropped on Privative up into the sky thanks to Sam, and the damage, the burn from the rest of the Valkyries is there. Was the last fight a fluke, or can the Sages do it one more time? Now down a member? Well, they're going to have to do it down the duo lane. Renjaru deleted over in the right lane. Phoenix follows up easily, and the Titan is low. The Valkyries ignore the rest of them, and they're going to go ahead and walk in, stamp their ticket to Roll Stars, and win this set.
Wow, I mean, once the first defense came through, I thought the Sages had some life in them, and they do step forward, but it's still not easy, especially if Samfrasaka's able to find a key ultimate. When you've got this much pen, when you've got this much damage online, even a tank like Terra can be deleted off of the Windfire wheels, especially if you've got the follow-up like Gamma can provide. This Kuzenbo was an absolute menace. Shouts out to Wowy, pulls the beads off of a Renjaru, they can chase down the Chernobog, find another pick, and then turns out the Titan, when it's got 3k HP, kind of melts like tissue paper.
This is what we were wondering about the Valkyries, and we were confused, at least I was, until somebody maybe gave some clarification about what it was, but the 3rd seed and the first phase just didn't seem right for these 5 players. 3rd seed coming into this and being able to beat the, I believe it was technically the 5th seed when they made it up to their line of the gauntlet. Then the 2nd seed, now the 1st seed to continue moving on. The Valkyries, 6 games, 6 wins, and that's 3 sets down in the gauntlet to not worry about it. And Shelly, this game, last game, and quite a few of them really, you can drop in. You had mentioned Gamma on the Kuzenbo, I think needs to be mentioned. Aqua's presence in general. Crimson's damage, Sam's presence, and of course Wowy, who had maybe one of the best performances in a weekend that we've gotten to see in a while. I think all 5 of them were just set up.
Incredibly consistent duo lane, no doubt about it. I think that Wowy was, having the high kill lines. We were wondering, is he just getting last hits or is he absolutely popping off? And I think this game proved it. He was definitely popping off. Gamma seemed the most annoying you can be, which is as great as a compliment as you can get if you are a support player, because that's exactly what your playstyle holds. And of course, Samfrasaka, seeing him on his vintage, Nayhoo, the Assassins, he played some Kali, the Wukong even previously, seemed great. It was a breath of fresh air considering how this team was playing in the regular SCC season. Showed that they are still definitely a threat and 100% earned their ticket to Roll Stars, right? I mean, it was.
Oh, for sure.
Was there ever a question considering some of these matchups? It was. I can't think of many close games, right? It was all pretty one-sided in favor of the Valkyries. If anything, I thought they could have ended sooner a couple of times.
Yeah, fast games, maybe not exactly in their pocket, but wins constantly in their side. Fights their side as well. I mean, the CC, the control, a lot of the games we saw, at least today, you saw 3 to 4 times the amount of kills on the Valkyrie side as their opponent. And this game, well, it didn't maybe stay true the entire time, still kept true for a majority of it. Nayhoo, a saving grace for the Sages, did what he could. There's just too much on the other side. 4-1 and 8, have to give the shout out, 21,000 for both Wowy and Sam in terms of damage, 22k for Aqua. And of course, the burn themselves, I guess, Crimson, just absolutely embodying Merlin 2 games in a row for some great, great performances for the Valkyries. And that, Shelly, closes it out. That's the NA Gauntlet. That's the winner. That is the end of the road for them this weekend. But it's not the end of the road for them in the grand scheme. Now, again, for those of you who are maybe tuning in, we took all, 6 of the teams from the SCC, put them in the Gauntlet, 6v5, winner of that v4, winner of that v3, which was the Valkyries, and then 3 wins there, and the finals. Now, where do they go? Well, the answer is Roll Stars, which is going to be in not even a couple of weeks, a few weeks from this weekend, right? Next week is going to be a nice little relaxed weekend. Then we're going to get back. We're going to have the Divisional Stars. That is going to give us captains for Roll Stars the next week, and so that is going to be the layout for them. So Roll Stars is going to be a few weeks, a little bit of downtime for the Valkyries as they wait. They were able to take out the Wardens, the Weavers, and the Sages. And you have to imagine Scorpions, Storm, early exits. All of these teams put up a phenomenal performance, and I can't wait to see them again when we get back into the SCC. But if you were wondering, again, the winners, not only the Valkyries here, but of course from last week, if you were tuning in, the Wargs, who were able to come out and win all over everything. Davey, Preds, Hawk, Worst Turtle, Panvich, all going to be joining us.
Blue squads, man.
Roll Stars. Blue squads, man.
We gotta investigate this. What's up with the blue logos that are just taking everyone down?
Now, okay, where do the ferrymen, because that's like it's almost like teal, it's got like a little bit of green, but is it still blue enough that it counts? Because they won Masters.
I consider it more green, I would say.
Okay, so
but still, they're similar tints, I suppose.
Yeah, they're in like the same area.
Yeah, we'll launch an investigation and get back to you guys if the color scheme had anything to do with it.
Color
but
diff.
We know at the very least that the gameplay diff was there.
For sure. It has been dominance from these 2 teams. Again, Last week was Europe. That's where the Wargs won. You can probably catch those games up on SMITE VOD at this point. Anything you missed this weekend, there's going to be the Twitch VODs, but of course you can go to youtube.com/SmiteVOD to catch any of those that you wanted to see if you're curious how the Valkyries got to where they were. But the other thing to be worried, they're thinking about, again, next week, not too much. The week after, Divisional Stars, where we're going to have Order Chaos taking teams on. Winners of that will then be your captains for Roll Stars, and that is an event that I personally, Jelly, am looking forward to a lot. Finally, you have the solos thrown in, the junglers thrown in, the mid laners, supports, etc., etc. I don't know why I started etc. There's literally only one role left. The carries as well. Got to give them their shout out. All forming teams with each other, only their role, and fighting to see who exactly is the best in Smite. That one's going to be fun to watch, and of course that's going to be the next time we see either of these two SEC teams, whether it's the Wargs or the Valkyries. So hopefully you'll be tuning in just a couple of weeks when we get into the Divisional Stars, and of course in a few weeks when we get to the actual Roll Stars event. From that point forward, we're going to be rolling into the season, so it's going to be Smite time, baby. You got to put us on the calendar and make sure you're here most of the time Fridays, but definitely Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m., twitch.tv/SmiteGame. From myself, from Trelly, everyone here in production, of course everyone here at hi-rez Studios, I do want to thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, we'll see you at Divisional Stars.
See ya.